Okay, so welcome to Artificial Intelligence at the Peterborough Town Library. Wait a minute. That shouldn't go together, but that's all right. Go ahead, Tim. Take it over.
All right. So the important part of this is you'll never have to read a book again, which we highly encourage. Let me just make this bigger. All right. So as always, the recording of this will be put on YouTube. And if you have, or I guess if Mary has your email, you will also get sent a list of the slides. And one of the reasons we do that is, one, if we ever update the class, you'll have any updated information we put in the slides. If anyone asks any questions during the presentation, we will add that information to the slides, and then you can check back later and get that additional information. But the reason we do it, that's most important to me at least, is so you don't have to write anything down. You know, you can just kind of watch, be in the moment, and you can go to the slides later to kind of refresh what we had talked about. Plus, there will be links in here, and you know, no one has time to write down all of those. All right, so this is our class on AI. This is kind of like a basic overview. We'll go over like things it can and can't do, why you might want to use it. And if you're kind of looking for more of a, here's a scenario, and here's how you use AI in that scenario, that would be better for the second class, which my wife, who is a much better presenter than I am, will be doing in about a week. Plus, this is more kind of general focused, and she will be doing more of a how do you use it in business sort of focus. All right, so Mary rather cleverly asked AI to define what AI is. I won't really read it to you in its entirety, but essentially it's a simulation that is trying to compare itself or be compared to human intelligence. So theoretically, this will be the smartest person you've ever met, but on the negative side, it will also be the most sure of themselves person you've ever met, and that person will lie to you. All right, so AI is not sentient or conscious, at least that's what they tell us to believe. AI is not objective or unbiased, unless it is, and AI is not copying all text or pictures and pasting bits and pieces. It truly is generating new content. It is taking existing content, learning from it, and then generating new content. You'll see in the news that there are a lot of artists or writers who are trying to get their works taken out of the AI training database. And we will wait with bated breath to see how, how that ends up, if they're even able to do that at this point. The long and short of it is anything that is online and accessible has probably been gathered for AI research. So anything you've ever posted to a message board, anything you've ever put on your website, all of that has been taken and given to the AI to generate more content. So I figured we'd start off with some lighthearted questions, kind of a quick Q&A just between myself and myself. So will AI take your job? Maybe, probably not though. AI still is in its infancy, relatively speaking, and it's not the best at consistency or just not blatantly lying. So I would compare this to, will, AI-powered cars that are like truck drivers replace truck drivers? And the answer is probably not. You will still need the truck drivers in the trucks in order to make sure that nothing bad happens. For example, on that, Tesla's AI has an inability to see flashing lights and determine that it's a police car. So if a police car is in front of a Tesla currently, and the police car has flashing lights on it, the Tesla will not register as a car and it will slam into it full speed. I am not saying that's what happened last week. All right. Will AI help you with your job? This, I think, is the most important question, and the answer is most likely. Depending on your job, if you have any sort of question, like if you have any sort of questions about what to do, AI is great at generating those kind of responses. It's great at editing documents. It's great at just general questions and answers. Instead of asking or waiting for, an expert in the field to reply, you might be able to get a quicker answer by just asking an AI generative chatbot. Will AI help you find love? Now, I assume everyone here has found the love of their life, but AI will help you find love if you're into that sort of thing. So with the rise of online dating, one of the unfortunate things that AI has been used to do is auto-generate responses to people's opening questions, or to generate a opening question yourself in order to make yourself seem more interesting. And it turns out AI is better at this than humans. So you no longer need a personality in order to do online dating. Yay. All right, I will mention I'm married, so I don't have that problem, I think. All right, will AI lie to you? And the answer to this is yes. It will make up anything. I think Mary has an example later on in this presentation about asking AI who has walked across the English Channel, holds the record for it. And AI will happily give an answer, even though you kind of can't walk underwater that distance. So it'll just lie to you.
Yeah, 2.5 billion people live on Mars.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody
It is programmed to generate a response. And if it can't find a source that is real, it will make one up.
Excuse me, since we're talking about AI, is there a specific AI site we're talking about?
We're talking more in generalities right now, but specifically, we are generally talking about the chatbots. So that would be ChatGPT 3.4 or 3.5 or 4. We're talking about Google Bard. We're talking about Microsoft Bing, and we're talking about Claude. Claude? I don't know how to pronounce that one. But we're generally talking about the generative ones where you type in a question and it will provide an answer. So will AI continue to get better? The answer is yes. If you are unhappy with the performance of AI today, probably in 3 weeks or a month, there will be a new thing or an update that should make it better. It should scale from here and become more and more useful, or scary, depending on how much tinfoil you have. Will AI help you? Yes. In general, it will help you do your job. It will help you answer questions. It will help you write letters. It will help you do whatever you ask it to do. You will always have to kind of make sure that it's not blatantly lying and make sure that it's saying what you want it to say. But most likely, if you play around with it enough, it will help you. At the very least, it should be able to amuse you, which I think is pretty important these days. All right, so our cultural understanding of AI is men. Let's continue. And AI through the years. So I'm not going to read the entirety of this, but basically in 1950, the Turing test was created or thought up, and it's basically a test for a machine to see if a group of humans would be tricked into thinking it's real. We have passed the Turing test a long time ago, and if we roll up to 2011 and beyond, that's when we started getting more of the interactive experiences with allegedly AI. Ways we use it now. Mary, do you want to do this one?
I mean, I think we use AI without even realizing it. If you talk to your home, to ask Alexa to add what the weather is, or Siri, recommendations that are used in e-commerce platforms, fraud detection in financial institutions, which I'm very happy about because I got an email that tried to get me to click on a link for fraud PayPal, and when I called PayPal, they had already detected it and removed it from the system. Again, the vehicles, which are still a work in progress because they have trouble with, they have trouble with flashing lights and bicycles and people walking bicycles. Often now your customer service, you're either texting or talking to a chatbot instead of a real human being, which I personally don't care for, but image and facial recognition for your phone, or for getting into a secure system. Medical diagnosis and healthcare systems, which I find really, really fascinating. There's an article from the Ledger talking about the hospitals are really nervous about the medical diagnosis and healthcare systems. It's being used, it can be useful, but it also, they're worried about sensitive information or misdiagnosis, because again, as Tim said, AI will make it up. They want to fulfill your request. So they'll give you something. It may not be accurate. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you've ever talked to someone who always has to be the smartest in the room, not me, and if they have to have an answer for everything, an AI chatbot's like that. This person may not know anything about Egypt, but they will happily tell you, the pyramids were created by aliens, that sort of thing. That's what a chatbot does. Slightly more intelligent, hopefully. All right, how is AI trained? Well, the first step is have a ton of computing power. You absorb all human text, turn it into numbers. You run complex mathematical formula on the numbers to learn how it works. And then you train or teach the computer program how to understand the relationships between the numbers. It's not really using words is what we're getting at. You train or you pay humans rather cheaply to double check the progress. And then you analyze the numbers with respect to all the other numbers and predict the correct answers. You take this final answer and then turn it back into words. Mary, I think you had a thing with like how much they're paying or something.
No, it's in that article, and I think it was like $5 a day to people in Kenya to teach the chatbot what's proper and what's not, because everything has to be trained. So they're using individuals to sort of handhold and train these chatbots for very, very low pay.
Perfect. All right, what could go wrong? Algorithmic bias, among other things. So for example, artificial intelligence is dreaming up a very white world. Basically, the people who are generally creating these are white, and that doesn't help with diversity.
Well, and in
And
this
then,
article, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go
In
for
this article, particularly, unless you put 4 into your search request, you will not see a person of color. And truly, every algorithm has its bias. Every system has its bias. The Dewey Decimal System has its bias. We need to be aware of that. These are pretty scary biases. So, and then the other one, the Amazon scrapped its secret IA recruiting tool because it was showing bias against women because they had been recruiting men, and that was their group of people that they were basing their algorithm on, and so it was just refulfilling, so.
yeah. So the way I like to think about that in a horrible way is if you have a large company, traditionally, a lot of men, older men, were in positions of power, or executives, directors, that sort of thing, vice presidents. So whenever a tool is trying to determine who would be best suited for a job, it will base it on the available data, which for a very long time was white dudes. So whenever it's making a suggestion of who to hire, it'll go to that data and it will see white dudes. And then it will base, its suggestion on that. So it's all about the pool of data that it's given. And if you had keen eyes, this was shown a little bit in the kind of AI through the ages, but Microsoft created a chatbot called Tay and unleashed it onto the world, and it was supposed to be very helpful and fun. And because it was getting data based on people who were responding to it. It very quickly became racist and started saying Hitler was right. So it's an example of garbage in, garbage out.
It
And
lasted all of 12 hours.
Yep. And that's one of the scary things is if enough bad data is inputted into these learning algorithms, they will then start producing bad data or incorrect data. Other issues, copyright, hallucinations, and being dumb. Mary, do you want to take the first two?
All right, so copyright, again, Tim alluded to it. Who has the copyright of the material that is being used to feed the chatbot? And who has the copyright of the material that is created through AI? That's still in the courts, that's still undecided, and it's going to be pretty problematic. I know there was an artist who wanted to, oh great, thank you. An artist who wanted to, oops, that should have, all right, I will have to change that. An artist who created something in AI and tried to put it into a competition and was denied entrance because he didn't have the copyright to the material because it was generated out. It wasn't all of his product. It was created by various other tools and instruments through the AI. And hallucinations are, I think, a fabulous term for just mistakes. And there's a great article that Tim is opening up. And it can be hilarious and horrifying, but also really, really concerning, some of the mistakes that are made. And this is the one where the English Channel and the world record for crossing the English Channel entirely on foot is held by Christoph Wanderach of Germany. Who knew? In any case, if you're looking for specific information, it's very problematic. The chance of they're making a mistake and creating what they refer to as a hallucination is highly likely because they're just trying to please you. They're trying to answer your question. So you have to be very, very careful. And Tim, you want to go to the being dumb?
Yeah, so being dumb. So I thought this was just kind of a nice, lighthearted article that kind of showcases what we're talking about. Microsoft pulled an AI written travel guide, which told tourists to visit the Ottawa Food Bank if they were hungry. So first of all, I'm taking two things away from this. One, that Ottawa Food Bank is probably pretty awesome. Good job. And secondly, no human read the article before it got published. Slightly insensitive. And one of my favorite quotes from it is in the article, it said, "Consider going into it on an empty stomach," which just seems really insensitive. So it will just kind of be dumb. All right, so which tool to use? This is a very short, small, little, quick kind of infographic where on the left-hand side you have paid options and on the right-hand side you have free options. This will get changed every week. So as of, 1 month ago, whenever Mary and I found this infographic, it's probably outdated already, but I wasn't able to find one that looks prettier, so we kept it.
Yes. I think that's it. So go ahead, Tim. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, no problem. So here's another question to answer by myself. Can AI answer questions? This is generally what people are talking about whenever they're talking about new AI stuff. And the answer is yes, and below we have some things listed. When possible, I only listed free tools. So, because I want it to be very open and I want people to kind of, if they feel at all inclined, to feel like there's really no barrier for entry for trying some of these out. So, can AI answer questions? The answer is yes, and some good ones are ChatGPT, which is created by OpenAI. This is the big one. This is the one everyone talks about. The next one is Bing, which is from Microsoft, and that uses ChatGPT 4 in order to give you the answers. It is different from base ChatGPT though. There is Bard, which is by Google, and there is Claude from Anthropic. I like this one. It's nice. And we'll kind of go over the differences between these in a little bit. So, can AI help with writing? The answer is yes. We have all of the previous ones. You can always take your document, put it into one of these chat bots, and it will edit it for you if you ask it to. The other addition here is Grammarly. If you've heard of Grammarly before, it was essentially a very fancy text editor. It would say like, hey, did you really mean to put a comma here? That kind of thing. And with AI, it has grown to kind of be more of a all-encompassing, helpful tool. One of the main things it does is it will give you, it will let you tell it what you want your writing style to be. If you want it to be direct or you want it to be informative, if you want it to be friendly, and then it will help you steer what you write in those directions.
Question, please. Will
Yes.
it imitate a certain style? Can you say, I'd like to write like Hemingway?
For Grammarly, I don't believe so, but for the other four, yes.
Okay.
For example, you can take what you've written and ask these to turn it into a Shakespearean sonnet, and it will happily do it.
Oh, okay. Is this class going to tell us what we can do with AI?
He's going to show you, I think Tim, you're going to show us some examples, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. Can AI help with photos? The answer is yes. Some free ones that I've used and I find useful are remove.bg. What this does is you take an image, you put it in, and it will remove the background for you automatically, and it's free. The next one is vectorizer.ai, and that will take an image and it will turn it into a vector format. A vector format is generally used for things like in marketing for like ad campaigns or logos or things of that nature, where you can easily scale it larger or smaller without kind of losing resolution. Can AI help with meetings? Yes, you can use crisp.ai, and it does kind of two things very well. The first one is if you're in a busy place or a noisy place, it will remove the background noise. The second thing is it will summarize the meeting notes for you. It will listen to what's said, it will type it out, and it will try and gather the important data points and give it to you as a synopsis afterward. One of the things you can do with this is you can have the AI join the meeting without you, and it will just record everything and then give you kind of the synopsis afterwards. There are other tools that do this like Otter, but those ones are paid. Can AI make art? Yes, you've probably seen something about this where you type in what you want the picture to be and AI will automatically generate it. The one I personally use because it's free is leonardo.ai, and I can kind of show you what that looks like at the end. Can AI make your website better? If you have a website, one of the things you can do is you can take wonderchat.io, you can point it at your website, and voila, your website will have a chat bot. So if someone visits your website and they can then ask it questions and it will direct them to the correct page or answer their questions for them. So if you have a website, this might be interesting. Can AI do other stuff? And the answer is yes. So on this page, we have 2 links, and both of them essentially do the same thing. It's a list of AI tools. So you would click on one of them, and then you would type in kind of what you're looking to do, and it would suggest an AI tool for you. It's all about the prompt. So if you're using a chatbot, you can ask it to act as if blah. So you can set the speaker, you can set the subject, you can set the tone, you can set the audience. So you can set.
Lost you. Uh-oh.
We need help from the chat bot.
I will just say, for example, you can say, you please write a synopsis of the moon landing as if you were a NASA engineer and you're speaking to a 10-year-old. And it will change things, and then you can change the audience to a college educated individual or just general audience. So I'm hoping Tim's coming back because he also has control of the slides.
There you go. Oh, no,
No,
that's not back.
let's see,
He disconnected, he's coming back.
yeah. This will be great. Hi, everybody, just hold on one second. I think Tim just got kicked out. Probably said something that AI didn't agree with. But let me just see. And he was going to, if I can get a hold of him. Mhm. Yeah, he's lost internet. Okay. Any chance? Oh, right. Right. If he can't get back, what we're gonna do is, I think we will stop where we are because he's got the slides. He's also going to just show us, he was going to go in and show us some examples with Chat GBT and Bing and Bard. So he really needs to be here. Just here.
Response.
Okay.
Is he driving?
No, he is at home and I'm surprised he's in Milford, so I'm not sure why he's lost his internet. But let me do one thing. Let's see if I can. Oh, No, that's a spam call. Yeah,
It's going so nicely.
I know. There it is.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Wonderful.
Thank you, sir. So happy to see you back. All right.
Let's see. Actually, Mary, do you want to go over this while I reset up my screen?
Sure, I was talking to, I don't know if everybody on Zoom heard me, but yeah, I mean, it's just all about the prompt. That's the really important piece, and you should play with it and have fun with it. You can ask the chat box to be an art historian or, whatever specialty you want, and then you can choose the subject that you want the chat box to talk about, and the tone, lighthearted, academic, you know. And then again, the audience, it can be, explain nuclear fission for a 5-year-old. I'm not sure why they need to do that. And then this link has some really great advice about golden prompts. And you can also ask the chat box for help. You can say, is this working? What should I change to make it work for my 5-year-old? And they will respond to you. Again, I encourage you just to use this, and I think Tim's going to go over this in a moment, as a rough draft, as a beginning, just to get your ideas, to sort of trigger ideas for you, as opposed to a final product. Because that's where people get into trouble, is when they say, oh, well, it's written this marvelous article. I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to read it because Ottawa has food banks, and why, so you do, I have used Chat GPT, among other things, to play with discussion questions for book groups, because it brings out things that I haven't thought of asking about the book. But I've also seen it make mistakes, like include an individual who was actually the author's daughter as a character in the book, rather than the actual name of the character in the book. So you just have to be careful.
And excuse me, are you telling it to do these things or asking it to do things by typing or by talking?
Well, I think you can do both, but actually, I mean, I do it with typing. I just sort of say, please,
Yeah.
you are, you're a librarian and you want to talk about, I mean, that's how I did the definition of artificial intelligence. It just said, please explain for my tech class what artificial intelligence is. And they gave me that paragraph. It was reasonable. And I thought it was sort of amusing to have it self-defined.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. Doop. All right. So we'll demonstrate in a minute. We're going to go over ChatGPT 3.5, which is the free tool. Bing Bard. It's kind of fun to say. And Claude. So I'll add that afterwards.
So as I mentioned, just uses for the general public. I mean, this changes every single day. You get an article about something new that AI is doing. First drafts, it's really good for first drafts. Creative development. Do you want to go ahead and click on that link? It's sort of amusing. So this individual spent 6 hours with AI. Oh well, I guess we're not going to see it. And created this Batman movie.
You see, Batman, I know things about you that no one else does. I know the secrets that you keep hidden. the truths that you buried deep. I knew you better than you know yourself. You think you're a mystery, a dark night shrouded in secrecy, but you're not. You're an open book to me, a puzzle waiting to be solved. You're not a hero, Batman. You're a man consumed by anger and pain. You wear the mask to hide from your past, but it's not enough. It's never been enough. The truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered. I know about your parents, how their deaths shaped you, how you turned your grief into a mission for justice. I know about your fears,
Probably.
how you're terrified of losing the...
It is, and one of the things that he did was he set the tone for the narrator. So he asked it to mimic the Joker, and it does pretty well. So, communication. This is an interesting article from the New York Times. They were talking about various uses of AI. There was an individual who was having trouble with their tween and asked for advice on how to parent. They found it useful. I'm not sure that that's the best approach. Another individual who there's sort of a cultural oral history story every evening to a child, and he didn't have time for it, so he got AI. He included individuals who were in her life and had AI create this cliffhanger story that he would then continue the next night, which he would read aloud to his child at bedtime. There's an individual who doesn't feel he's very good at love letters, so he had AI start that process and write love letters, and draft emails to bosses. Again, a rough draft just to try to sort of synthesize a subject so that you have that information all sort of pulled together, and then you can put your own tone in it. And educational navigation, this is new. The Khan University has created an AI chatbot to allow learners as well as tutors to navigate their systems for best possible outcomes. So it's pretty interesting, the various ways that AI is being used. Anything you want to add, Tim? Oh, we didn't lose him.
Yeah, I mean, AI is just, I think the most important thing, or the main takeaway you should get from this, is to play around with it. The more you use it, the more you'll get better at it. And it is useful for more things than you initially think of. So, I mean, Mary talked about the guy who uses it for parenting. It's not like he's putting his kid in front of a chatbot and calling that parenting, like some people do with a TV. He's asking it for ideas of what to do. Maybe he, wasn't raised in a household that did X, Y, or Z, so he doesn't know what might be fun for kids around his son's or daughter's age. And he's just asking for prompts. He's asking for ideas, and it's very useful for things like that. All right. So because I lost internet, I will have to make sure all of these are loaded. Cool. So I asked the 4 chatbots, which are free, the same question. And we can kind of go over it together and see which ones hit the mark and which ones do not. All right. So before I begin, any one of these is good to use. If you want to go with the one that everyone seems to be using, that is ChatGPT. If you are using this for a business, I would highly recommend going with the paid version of ChatGPT, which is ChatGPT 4. And we'll go over why whenever we get to these prompts. The other one that I highly recommend, especially in business, especially if you work for or are the owner of a company that utilizes Microsoft products, I would highly recommend you get familiarized with Bing. One of the main deterrents for how you should use these chatbots is anything you put into them is not confidential. It is then using what the information you put in to continue to train itself. So if you put in sensitive information, or if you put in actual home addresses or social security numbers, or any sort of personally identifiable information, the chatbot is going to take that information and use it later, potentially. The one exception that I've seen so far to that is if you have a business account with Microsoft, the information you put into the Bing chatbot will stay in your tenant. If you don't know what tenant is, that is your organizational structure for Microsoft. So in that sense, it's a little more secure because that information is not going to the outside world. All right, someone nodded, so everyone got the message. I love it. All right, so I have a pizza place, clearly, and I need a newsletter. I do not know why I continually reference pizza places in all of my AI prompts, but it's what I do. All right, I'll make it a little bit bigger so hopefully people can read it. If not, whoops. All right, so my prompt was very simple. I didn't do anything fancy, and I just said, please write me a 500-word email advertising my new local pizza business. We offer pizzas and delivery. So in the prompt, I indicated that it's a pizza business, that it's local, that there are a lot of different pizzas, and we have delivery. And I gave it a word limit. So the first one we're using is Claude.ai, and it looks like this. I don't think we have time for me to read all of them out loud, but you can kind of see the size of it. And Claude helpfully says it is 494 words. You know, new pizzeria, family friendly with a warm, inviting atmosphere. That sounds nice. Gather with friends for a night out or order for the whole family with a lazy night in. How fancy. All right, it's nice. I like this generated prompt. Next, I asked it, make the previous prompt 300 words. I thought it was too wordy. I thought the initial prompt of 500 words was a little bit too much. People may not read the entire thing. Now Claude has written a 300-word version of the previous email. One of the important takeaways from this is anything you put in this chat section, it will remember. So you can ask it to reference it. So it's very powerful. You can continually work on the same thing without having to retype in the first prompt you did. As you can see, it has now made it 300 words. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. Now, if we compare that to ChatGPT, which same prompt, see how it looks bigger. There we go. It also gave me a prompt. And this, I looked up the word count for it. I said 500 words. It's over 900, which is way too long for what I wanted. It also added a lot of, what are these called, Mary? Emojis?
Emojis, yeah.
And
I'm so old. It added emojis. You may like that or not. So one of the things ChatGPT also did is it decided I wanted to add a 10% discount code, which I may or may not have wanted. And it's just, again, it's 900 words. It's a little bit too much. You also notice that ChatGPT really likes bullet points, 1 through 5. Why choose us? Quality ingredients, variety, affordability, customer satisfaction, and community connection. So it may just blatantly lie because, you know, 1, this isn't real, and 2, I probably, if I just joined, don't have a community connection. Again, I asked it to make the previous prompt 300 words, and ChatGPT just spat in my face. This sucker is 800 words. It just doesn't care. It didn't change almost anything. So it just didn't listen to me for the 300-word prompt, but otherwise it generated what could be a good marketing email. Let's go over to Bard. So Bard, let me make this a little bit bigger, took the 500-word email. I said 500 words, and it decided to stick me with 300 words right from the get-go, which is fine. You know, at least it didn't go over. It also decided that I was offering free delivery on orders over $20. That was very nice of Bard. And it also gave everyone a 20% off coupon if they ordered. So I'm kind of pointing this out just to show you, like, it'll generate stuff, but then you need to edit it afterwards. It will put in things that you didn't, you know, intend for it to put in. Also, maybe I don't offer a barbecue chicken pizza. You know, it'll just make up things to fulfill your prompt.
Could I ask a
Yes,
question? Could it have offered the barbecue chicken pizza because it did some searching and found that there are a lot of those on menus online?
exactly. That's exactly what it did. It found that, you know, traditional favorites are pepperoni and cheese.
Yeah.
It knows that people really like barbecue chicken pizza, and it knows people like veggie pizza. It also realized that a lot of pizza places offer salad, wings, and other Italian dishes. So it kind of gathered all of this information, and it's trying to be helpful. It's, you know, trying to give you the whole package. The other thing Bard did, which is kind of nice, is it told you what things to include in the email. It recognizes that this is a marketing email, and it says, you know what would help? A photo of your pizza. True. A list of your pizzas. Yeah, that might help. Coupon code, well, it already added one, but yeah, that could drive sales. A link to your website, it reminds you to probably put your website on there. And it also says a call to action, which if you've done marketing, that's essentially giving someone something to do. So the call to action would be order your pizza today. It also kind of tells me how to personalize the email and says, I hope this helps, which is very adorable. And then with Bard, I asked it to make the previous prompt 300 words. And it didn't change anything because it was already around 300 words. So good job, Bard. So it did fine, but remember, you have to edit it afterwards. All right, now this one is Bing. Whoops, did not mean to print. Meant to make the text bigger. Please write me a 500-word email advertising my new local pizza business. We offer many pizzas and delivery. So Bing said it can help with that. Very kind. And it gave me a subject line of introducing our new pizza business. It completely disregarded 500 words and went with about 250, and then wrote the email. If you notice, if you have sharp eyes, you recognize that pretty much every one of the prompts says something to the effect of, eat pizza in your own home with comfort and enjoy. With Bing, we also have state-of-the-art ovens. I'm not sure what that means. And we take pride in providing our customers with high quality food and excellent service. Bing also gave 10% off the first order and left with, we look forward to serving you soon. So a nice little call to action. I then asked Bing to make the previous prompt 300 words, and it didn't really do anything because it was already around 300 words. So my new pizza business now has an email, but I should probably edit it a little bit. But it gave me good information. Going on from here, you could always ask your AI chatbot, what are the 10 most popular pizzas in the US, which we can do if we have time. Just, remind me. Or if someone wants something other than a pizza business. All right, the next thing I did that I find very useful for AI is I asked it to compare two products. So at my pizza business, I need security cameras because I live in a very high crime statistic state if you read the graph upside down of New Hampshire, right? I think we're number 4, by the way. And I asked it to compare the Unify G4 Professional UVC G4 Pro to the Unify G5 Professional UVC G5 Pro. Tell me what the differences are and which is better. So what it did is, for Claude, is it gathered all the information and is trying to show me the differences between the two cameras. It says the camera sensor on the G4 Pro is a 4 megapixel sensor. On the G5 Pro is an 8 megapixel sensor. So right now we're going to do a quick little fact check. We'll just mosey over here to this tab. Let's see. The G5 Professional has a 4K 8 megapixel sensor. Good. The G4 has a 4K 8 megapixel sensor. Bad. It lied to me. It just straight up lied. All right. So it says the G5 Pro has a higher resolution sensor compared to the 4 megapixel, the G4 Pro. That is a lie. They have the exact same sensor. Let's continue. It says video resolution is basically the same. That's correct. It kind of told me, about resolution, which is a lie because they have the same resolution. Lighting, it says the G4 has night lighting essentially at 30 meters. G5 has it at 50 meters. So in the dark, the G5, the newer one, will be able to see further. That is correct. And then it tells me field of view. It managed to somehow get both of these numbers wrong. It says the G4 has 100 and the G5 has 90. That is incorrect. Both of them have 109 degrees field of view. So what can we take away from this? Double check it because it'll lie. Let's see if ChatGPT did any better. Same prompt. The ChatGPT engine said, as of my last knowledge update in September 2021, I can provide a general comparison between these two. So the important thing to take away from this is the free version of ChatGPT is not gathering new information. Anything that has been created from September 21 to now, ChatGPT 3.5 has absolutely no knowledge of. So you can't ask it about current events. You can't ask it what are the 10 most popular pizzas, because it will give you the 10 most popular pizzas from before September 2021. Maybe there's been a huge change in the pizza industry and those have changed. I don't know. ChatGPT 3.5 doesn't know either. So It, gave me completely incorrect information. So not useful. Bard, same prompt. It actually gave me a nice little graph. Or not a graph. Spreadsheet,
Yeah, table.
little 3-column table. Feature, the 2 names, and the different options. And this is 100% correct. Bard is awesome at gathering information from online sources and getting it correct. So in case you were wondering which you should use to get comparatives between 2 different products, the answer would be Bard. Everything in this is correct. Bing. I don't find this incredibly readable, but it is also entirely correct. So Bing and Bard, I just love saying that, Bing and Bard are very good for gathering new information from online sources. The other thing that's really nice about Bing is it will provide their sources. So it says that it got its information partially from the interface.uk, reddit.com, the interface UK, and reddit.com. So at least it provides you with its sources, and you can click through. And then, so actually let's click through. So it gathered a lot of its information from this website, which has the data in a very nice looking table. And it's just where it got its information. So you can actually check because it tells you. If you look at these other ones, it does not tell you where it got its information from. It's one of the reasons why Bing is actually a very good choice. I'm not saying to buy these cameras. This was just a little example.
I'm definitely ordering pizza tonight.
Yeah. One thing that when you become more advanced with chatbots like this, and I in no way think I'm incredibly advanced. This is one of those things where the more you learn about them, the more you realize you don't know about them kind of situations, which we have a graph of on the next slide. But one of the things that sets ChatGPT apart, specifically it's better with 4, is if we go to the bottom left, you can see my username, which is openai.unsure826 at something. If I click on the ellipses, I can hit custom instructions. So if you remember earlier when we were talking about, you can say, write as if my audience has a 6th grade reading level, or write as if I'm a professor with expertise in the field. You can put it in these custom instruction options, and then it will remember that. So you don't have to add that to every prompt. And then it kind of gives you examples of what information you should put in here. So what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? You can say, where are you based? What do you do for work? Hobbies and interests, subjects you can talk about for hours, all that stuff. And then how would you like it to respond? How formal or casual should it be? How long or short should the responses be? How do you want to be addressed? Should it have opinions on topics or remain neutral? So all of these things in any of these tools, you can manually type into the prompt. ChatGPT gives you the ability to automatically have that information saved. This is useful if you are using it to create marketing content for a business, for example. So you can make sure that the overall tone of all of your messaging is the same. It will kind of make it seem very coherent as a business. So if your business is more, is supposed to have like a plucky go-getter attitude versus a more business strict attitude, you can put that in here and make sure that all of the content that it generates is following that voice. are there any questions or anything people would like me to search for, put in here just to see what it spits out? Or are there any questions about, which is better than which? We kind of discussed how Bard and Bing are generally pretty good with gathering new information, for example.
Any questions? Anybody have?
Not of that kind.
But well, go ahead.
Well, you mentioned if you put in personal information, it can become, it'll go into the public domain. But what are the other risks from using these AI sites?
Well, I'll
If
have
that-
you know, I am a tinfoil hat enthusiast. So theoretically, you sign into these using your email address. You verify using your phone number. Anything you type in can be tied back to you. So for example, if you're going to commit a murder, you would not want to use a chat bot in order to ask how you dispose of the body. Or I'm referencing a news article. What was that guy? He asked how long until a body smells or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but anything you type in here is recorded, saved, and it can be tied back to you. That's one of the major, security things, if you will. But the main thing is just remembering that anything you type in here, pretend as if everyone in the world can see it. Be polite.
There's a question in the chat.
What is best for genealogy, such as finding relatives? I don't know. There may actually be there might be one specifically for that.
Sort of to come in and compare. Ancestry.com, do a search on Ancestry and compare it to what you could produce with a chat bot. It would be a very interesting comparison.
I mean, apparently there's myheritage.ro, which seems like it's maybe not English. And then there's story.com, which is the next generation of family history. Search millions of records and capture stories and relationships beyond the traditional family tree. I don't know if it works at all. Never used it. But if you just search, genealogy AI, you'll probably get some responses. But I think you had just mentioned it, Mary. What does the library offer as a tool?
Ancestry.com. So it would be interesting to do a comparison, just the way
It would.
A comparison between the chat bots.
Yeah, I think so. While we wait for people to have thinking caps on, which I mean, for me takes forever. So let us go to leonardo.ai. I personally find that using AI image generation is a very fast way to learn how to prompt any AI. It's a lot easier for me to tell what happens when I change my prompt just visually versus trying to read all of those pizza things and comparing them. So if you've ever seen in the news, people talking about AI generated images, some of those may be generated using Leonardo. The reason why I'm demonstrating Leonardo is because it is the best one that I have found that is free. So you can play around with it for free. One of the interesting things with Leonardo is if you go to the main page, signing up is free. It does take a little bit of time to get your authentication token. So feel free to play around with it. But if you just go to the main page and scroll down, and I really hope all of these are going to be safe for work. Sometimes, occasionally, one of them isn't. So let's just pretend if we see one. All right. So I can scroll down and I can see, oh, this looks cool. Looks like a coloring book, right? You know, this teddy bear looks kind of cool. Peter Dinklage as Super Mario, love it, fantastic. But you can kind of see the things people have done. And I can say, or I can find one, and I can say, just trying to find one that seems kind of cool. All right, we're going to go back up to the coloring one. All right, this coloring book, I think it looks cool. It will tell me what the prompt was to generate this image. So what I can do is I can, instead of trying to figure out all the prompts for myself, I can just copy the prompt. I can see that it was done in Dreamshaper v7. I will close this. I will go to AI image generation. I will go to the generation prompt. I will paste it in, make sure I am using the model of Dreamshaper version 7. And I will look at the prompt now. Black and white outline art for kids, coloring book page, Halloween kids coloring pages, full white, kids style, white background, whole body, sketched out. You say a lot of random things. Use outline, cartoon style, line art, coloring book, clean line art, white background, sketch style. All right, let's just hit generate, see what we get. Now, one of the things is you may have to fine tune the prompt, or you may just need to generate it multiple times in order to get an image that you want. Because this is a free tier, it will take longer for it to generate the images. Not too long though, I hope. If you notice on the left-hand side, there are a ton of options. There are so many, it's almost not worth talking about because there are so many. The important one is guidance scale. So the guidance scale is how heavily your prompt is weighted versus how heavily it wants to do its own thing. So if you want it to be more literal with your prompt, to the right. If you want it to be more creative, using your prompt only as a smidgen of guidance, all the way to the left. 7 is its default. So as we can see, we got 4 generated images, and it looks kind of cute, right? Has a little witch with pumpkins, house in the background. This seems like it could be a fun activity to color. You could take this and print it. So yeah, that's how to do the art stuff a little bit. Are there any questions, comments, or
We have
Yeah.
one question in the room.
If we were to take an item and say, who's winning the Ukraine-Russian war?
Hmm.
Well, we've got propaganda, we've got a lot of information, a lot of false information.
do I not know how to spell, or do I just not capitalize?
You
All right,
don't.
capitalize. Let's ask. So you can, it will generally, by default, try and give an unbiased response, but where it gathers its information is probably biased. So it will inadvertently have those biases. So, and you can always say, I want you to have this bias. All right, so for Claude, it basically says no definition or no definitive conclusion on who's winning. However, here are some key points. So Ukraine has exceeded expectations insofar as slowing down and repelling the offensive, still maintains control over key cities. Russia has suffered high casualties. Ukraine has received vast amounts of military aid. Russia occupies about 20%. So it says no clear winner. Chat GPT 3.5, it's not even worth it because it's doesn't have any of the new information. Bard, once again, too early to say. Here are some factors. It says if, the West has provided Ukraine with billions of dollars, this support has been crucial. If the West continues to support Ukraine, it will be a much stronger position to win the war. It'll give little points as to snippets of information.
So,
I don't know if that answered your question, but it answered something.
so on a question like that, that's a great question. And if you just type that question into the Google search bar, you get a million articles with all that information. So is what Bard or Google Bard or, because Google's a search engine and Bing started out as a search engine. So is it really just, kind of reading those articles for you and summarizing and writing an essay, kind of a wrapper on top of the search engine? Is that what's going on there?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's taking news articles. It's also, taking, depending on the question, it'll also take like historical documents. So sometimes it may reference that, Russia annexed Crimea years ago, which isn't necessarily a part of this conflict, but, in the scheme of things, it could be referenced. So, but yes, for a topic like this, it would be mostly based on news articles.
And you will find when you start doing search on Google, there is now popping up the opportunity to use their AI generator as well in Google search, which it's sort of interesting. I haven't played with it yet. But you have to be very careful about, in a Google search, you've got the individual articles listed, so you have the reference points, but the reference points in AI aren't necessarily accurate. So you have
Is
to
it
be very
Bing?
careful. Oh, yeah, Bing is good.
Shows them, yeah. How about like
Yeah.
music generation? There was the image generation, but I'm assuming that
Yeah.
probably exists.
It does.
Write a song, Beatles style.
Well, and that little video, he generated that music for that as well. So there are so many different AI tools that we would be here for much longer if we tried to.
And then just a quick question also, I think, earlier copyrights were mentioned and I have read that, these databases are scraping the web and pulling images in, and this is what's pissing off the artists.
Right.
They post their picture on their own website and it gets consumed by these, so
Yeah.
they may have a copyright on it, but it's pulled into the database. They may have no recourse, or maybe they do, I don't know.
Well, there are a number of cases still in the court system, so there's no clear definition of how this is all going to evolve. But
Tons of lawsuits.
yeah, tons of lawsuits. Somebody's making
Um,
it.
There's, yeah.
I'm sorry, you say Chat GPT 3.5, the free version, is older data, is 4.0 current data?
Mhm.
Yes.
It is, very good, thanks.
Yep. 4.0 is alive and well. You can point these at websites and ask it to summarize the data. All of them except Chat GPT 3.5 are all current and still learning. There's a short video where Post Malone, fairly large musician, if you're not familiar, talks about his worries of AI, which I thought was kind of nice. It's about a minute. I'll just have Mary send it in the email.
That's right. And there was another question in the chat.
What is the goal of all these to develop these tools to sell products? So I'm not going to pretend to fully understand venture capital companies, but for some reason, they have poured millions and millions of dollars into the various AI startups. I'm assuming the end goal is to make money. Currently, none of these tools are really making money. Some of them will have a subscription. But I think it's more based on, you know, how like Google, it started out kind of just as a basic search, and now it's a really massive company that's kind of branched out. I'm assuming some VCs, venture capitalists, are looking at this in kind of the same way. If you're the first to market with something like this, then you can kind of really make your money by offering all these different ways to use it or different integrations through API calls. But right now, I think they're just battling for market share and public perception.
Tim, you have really covered a gamut of information, so thank you very, very much. And you want to sort of, I guess I will stop the recording if no one has any more
I have a
questions.
frivolous
Oh,
question.
Sure.
You know how sometimes you're on a website and you're thinking of buying something and they ask, would you like to chat with one of our associates? And if you say yes, then what it looks like is you're getting a bot. So I asked it once, are you a bot? And it didn't answer.
Well, they're trained. I've tried to get Alexa to swear. I can't get her to swear no matter how hard I try. So they're trained to avoid that kind of detection. So
She does
Yeah.
get defensive though.
she does.
Yes, she gets very defensive.
You can get around the restrictions in ChatGPT in some circumstances by addressing in the prompt that you are using it for a teaching purpose or something. There are ways that you can convince
Okay.
it to give results outside its usual boundaries, but it does have some hard limits as well.
Yeah, I find that fun. Like if you ask ChatGPT to be angry when writing a response to something, it says it can't do that. But if you ask it to give you an example of what not to do by sounding angry, it'll happily write it for you.
Well, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm ready to stop the recording.